Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Priyanka Chopra, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. There will come a moment in your life when you will wake up and realize nothing is going to change unless you do. You'll look around and see people moving forward, chasing dreams, breaking barriers, building something out of nothing, and you'll wonder, what's stopping me? The truth is, most of the time, it's not the world holding us back. It's us, it's the comfort, the hesitation, the fear of failing before we even begin. We tell ourselves we'll start tomorrow, we'll act when the timing is right, we'll move when we feel ready. But let me tell you something, you will never feel ready. The perfect moment doesn't exist. There is no magic day where your confidence will just show up and whisper, now is the time. You have to force yourself to take action even when you don't feel like it. When I say force, I mean push yourself through that resistance that screams, stay where you are. Because the mind is tricky, it loves routine, it loves comfort. It convinces you that procrastination is patience, that waiting is wisdom. But in reality, it's fear wearing a disguise. There have been times in my life when I stood on the edge of decisions that terrified me. Times when I didn't know if I was good enough, talented enough, or even brave enough to take the next step. And I remember thinking, what if I fail? But then I realized something powerful. Failure is not the opposite of action, inaction is. Because when you do nothing, you lose by default. Taking action isn't about being fearless. It's about being afraid and doing it anyway. It's about walking into uncertainty with shaking hands, but an unshakable will. It's about betting on yourself when no one else does. The people who change their lives are not always the smartest, the strongest, or the most talented. They're the ones who take action consistently, even on the days when motivation disappears, even when no one's clapping for them, even when every voice in their head says stop. They just keep going. Here's the truth. Every dream demands a price: effort, sacrifice, discomfort, and self-discipline. You cannot wish your way into greatness. You work your way into it. Every single small step you take today, waking up earlier, studying when you're tired, showing up when no one's watching, it all compounds into something extraordinary. Force yourself to take action not because it's easy, but because you owe it to yourself. You owe it to that version of you that once dreamed of this moment. You owe it to your future self, the one waiting to thank you for not giving up. And yes, it will be hard. You will doubt yourself. You will question why you even started. But those who keep moving, those who keep acting, even through doubt, they discover something beautiful, momentum. Once you start moving, clarity comes, confidence comes, strength comes. You don't find power by thinking about what could go wrong, you find it by doing. You build it through action, through persistence, through showing up every single day, especially when it's difficult. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for the stars to align. The universe rewards movement. Life responds to courage. Force yourself to take action not because someone told you to, but because deep down you know this. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is you. Motivation is a beautiful feeling, but it's unreliable. It's like the weather, sometimes bright and warm, sometimes completely absent. You can't build a life or a dream on something that changes every day. That's where discipline steps in. Discipline is not about being perfect or being in control all the time. It's about doing what needs to be done even when every cell in your body screams not today. It's the quiet, consistent voice that whispers get up when your mind says give up. And that voice, that force, that power, you build it, you train it, and it becomes your greatest ally. There will be days when you wake up and feel unstoppable, like the world is yours. On those days, action comes easy. You move without hesitation, you create without fear, and everything feels possible. But those days are rare. The truth is, most days are ordinary. You wake up tired, unmotivated, distracted, overwhelmed. Your mind makes excuses. It's too early, too hard, too late. It tells you that resting one more day won't hurt, and maybe it won't, but the habit of waiting for motivation always will. Because if you only act when you feel ready, you'll spend most of your life waiting. Discipline doesn't ask for feelings. It demands commitment. It's waking up before the sun when no one's watching, putting in the work when no one's clapping, staying focused when no one believes in you yet. It's about training your mind to obey your goals, not your mood. That's where strength is born, not from a burst of inspiration, but from the decision to act despite resistance. The gym, the stage, the exam hall, the office, the dream, all of them belong to those who show up when they least want to. The truth is, your brain loves comfort. It loves what's familiar because it feels safe, but comfort kills ambition silently. It wraps you in warmth, tells you you're fine where you are, and before you know it, years pass and you're still planning to start. The world belongs to the disciplined because discipline is movement. It's progress. It's a promise you keep to yourself. It's doing the thing once, twice, 1,000 times, until it becomes who you are. Discipline is not glamorous. It's waking up before dawn while everyone sleeps. It's saying no to distractions when you'd rather say yes. It's sacrificing comfort today for confidence tomorrow. And here's the thing. Every time you choose discipline over delay, you build power. You start to trust yourself more. You start to see that you can rely on your own word. That's where real confidence begins. Not in what others say, but in knowing you will follow through. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the fire that keeps you going long after the spark fades. You can't rely on mood swings to chase something meaningful. You can't depend on excitement to build something lasting. The most successful, the most fulfilled, the most unshakable people are not always motivated. They are simply disciplined. They've trained their minds to act before their feelings have a chance to interfere. Think about it. Every skill you've ever mastered, every success you've ever earned came from consistency. You didn't learn to walk because you felt like it. You kept falling and trying until it became natural. You didn't learn to read or write in one day. You practiced until you didn't have to think about it anymore. That's discipline. The willingness to repeat the small, unexciting steps that no one claps for. That's what builds the foundation of greatness. Sometimes the hardest part is starting. You wait for that perfect wave of motivation, that perfect alignment of mood and opportunity, but it never comes. The secret is to start anyway. Once you begin, the motion itself creates energy. You'll find that doing even a little leads to doing more. One small action breaks the cycle of hesitation. That's the magic of discipline. It creates momentum where there was once resistance. Discipline is not punishment. It's self-respect. It's saying, I matter enough to keep my promises. It's choosing to show up because your dreams are worth the effort. You can either be a slave to your feelings or a master of your actions. And the moment you choose action over emotion, you step into control. You stop being a passenger and become the driver of your life. It's not about being perfect every day. Discipline isn't about never missing a step, it's about never giving up the rhythm. You'll fall off sometimes, you'll miss a day, you'll lose focus. But the disciplined mind doesn't quit, it recalibrates. It starts again without drama, without self-pity. Because discipline doesn't care how you feel, it cares what you do next. There's a kind of peace that comes from discipline too. When you stop negotiating with yourself every day, you free your mind from the chaos of indecision. You know what needs to be done and you do it. That kind of clarity builds mental freedom. You don't waste energy convincing yourself to act. You just act, and that's where your life begins to transform. You see, everyone wants results, but few are willing to live the process. Everyone wants success, but few are willing to repeat the small, unexciting actions that success demands. The disciplined ones aren't superhuman. They've just stopped waiting for the right mood. They know action brings emotion, not the other way around. They don't chase motivation. They create it by moving, by doing, by showing up again and again. That's how you turn potential into power. That's how dreams become reality. Not through sudden inspiration, but through sustained effort. The kind of effort that feels uncomfortable, boring, even painful at times. But that's what separates the dreamers from the doers. Discipline builds a bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. Every act of discipline is a declaration that you refuse to stay where you are. When you force yourself to take action, something shifts inside you. You stop being controlled by fear and start being fueled by purpose. You stop being reactive and start being deliberate. You stop wishing and start building. That is the true essence of discipline. It turns ordinary people into unstoppable forces. It's not about feeling ready. It's about choosing to act and trusting that readiness will follow. Fear is one of the most convincing liars you'll ever meet. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It doesn't always tell you to stop. Sometimes it just tells you to wait. Wait until you're more confident. Wait until the timing is perfect. Wait until you have everything figured out. And you listen because it sounds reasonable. But what fear really does is keep you in one place, disguised as comfort. It wraps itself around you softly, telling you you're safe, when in reality you're trapped. The most dangerous prisons are not built of walls. They're built of habits, excuses, and comfort zones that feel warm but slowly suffocate your potential. Every person has dreams that scare them. The idea of stepping out, of being seen, of taking risks, it's terrifying. But fear isn't proof that you shouldn't move forward. It's proof that you're standing on the edge of something that matters. Fear always shows up when growth is nearby. It tries to convince you that staying still is safety, when in truth it's slow destruction. Because what fear calls safety is just another word for stagnation. Comfort feels good because it gives you control. It's predictable. You know what's coming. There are no surprises, no risks, no failures. But comfort also guarantees one thing: no progress. The longer you stay where it's safe, the smaller your world becomes. You begin to accept mediocrity as peace, hesitation as wisdom, and routine as destiny. You start calling your fear preparation and your inaction patience. It's a lie that slowly kills ambition, one quiet day at a time. The truth is, everything you want lives just beyond that line of discomfort. Every achievement, every transformation, every moment of pride, none of it happens in the easy zone. Growth begins where comfort ends. When you push yourself beyond what's familiar, you discover parts of yourself that you didn't even know existed. You find strength in fear, courage in uncertainty, and direction in the chaos. But you'll never experience any of it if you don't take that first uncomfortable step. You have to start seeing fear as a signal, not a stop sign. When something scares you, it's not always danger. Sometimes it's destiny calling. Fear is not the enemy, it's information. It tells you exactly where you need to go, because the things that scare you most are often the things that can change you the most. The moment you start walking toward your fear instead of running from it, your entire life begins to expand. Think about the moments that shaped you. None of them came from playing it safe. They came from saying yes when it was easier to say no, from stepping up when it was easier to stay back, from trying when you had no guarantee of success. Fear was there every single time, but so was the opportunity to grow. The people who build extraordinary lives are not fearless. They are simply more loyal to their purpose than to their fear. They understand that courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward in spite of it. Fear feeds on comfort. The more comfortable you get, the more power fear gains. It becomes louder, more persuasive, more believable. It tells you that taking risks will lead to loss, embarrassment, disappointment. But here's the truth. Loss, embarrassment, and disappointment are temporary. Regret is permanent, and comfort, though it feels safe, breeds the deepest regret of all, the kind that comes from never knowing what could have been. You'll never escape fear completely, but you can strip it of its control. The moment you act while you're afraid, fear begins to lose its grip. The moment you push yourself even slightly out of your comfort zone, you start rewriting the narrative. You stop asking, "What if I fail?" and start asking, "What if I fly?" That shift changes everything, because fear can only survive in silence and inaction. Once you start moving, once you start doing, fear has nowhere left to hide. Every time you push through fear, your confidence grows. You realize that what you were so afraid of wasn't as powerful as you imagined. That presentation you dreaded, that conversation you avoided, that dream you kept delaying, it all becomes easier once you face it head on. The things that once made your hands shake start to feel normal, even empowering. That's how confidence is built. By walking straight through fear, one small act at a time. Comfort doesn't give you that. Comfort gives you illusion. It tells you that you're okay, but deep inside, you know something's missing. There's a quiet voice that says, you're capable of more. That voice gets louder when you ignore it, restless when you suppress it. You can't silence your potential forever. Eventually, it demands to be lived, and to live it, you must break the shell of comfort that's keeping you small. There's nothing wrong with being afraid. It means you care. But don't confuse fear with a full stop. Fear is simply your mind's way of protecting you from the unknown. Once you realize that the unknown isn't always dangerous, that it's also where growth and magic happen, you start to crave that feeling of fear because you know it means you're evolving. Every breakthrough starts with discomfort. Every transformation starts with uncertainty. Every success story begins with someone deciding to face the fear instead of feeding it. You will never feel completely ready, but readiness is not the point. Movement is, because when you move, clarity follows. When you act, courage grows. When you stretch beyond what's comfortable, your future begins to expand. Fear will always try to talk you out of action. It will remind you of every failure, every doubt, every reason to stay still. But courage has only one response: move anyway. Step forward. Even if your voice shakes, even if your knees tremble, even if you're not sure where the path leads. Because movement destroys fear. Every time you act, fear weakens. Every time you stay still, fear strengthens. Don't let comfort trick you into thinking you're at peace. True peace doesn't come from avoiding challenges. It comes from knowing you faced them. True strength doesn't come from safety. It comes from surviving risk. The longer you wait for the perfect time to be brave, the more your courage fades. But the moment you take that step, everything inside you starts to change. Fear loses its power. Comfort loses its control. And you finally begin to live.